I had recently broken up with my girlfriend. I was 23 years old working as a sales intern downtown trying to kickstart my career in the professional world. This was back in 2015. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it was February, so it was extremely cold outside. It had also snowed all day, so I knew it was going to be a disaster on the road. My boss told me that I needed to stay an additional 2 hours after when I was supposed to clock out so I wouldn't be out of the office until 7 p.m. I wasn't able to complain or else my job would be on the line. After 2 more hours of trying to sell a stupid cell phone gadget that my boss was passionate about, I got ready to leave the office. I was the only intern who got made to stay late, so it meant I also had to turn off the lights and walk from one end of the office to the other in complete darkness. But it wasn't the darkness that bothered me, but rather the complete and utter silence that ran hills down my spine. As I turned off the lights and started walking across the office towards the exit, I heard a faint voice say, "I'm in the bathroom." I turned the lights back on and replied back, "I'll leave the lights on for you. Have a good night." I started making my way out of there, now more calm as I knew I wasn't alone, when I heard the voice call out again. "Wait," they said. I hesitated. I could either ask this person what they needed or walk out of there and act as if I didn't hear them. All of a sudden the door busted open and a man who I have never seen before got out. He was wearing a jacket and had a briefcase as well, looking as if he did in fact have a job here. He introduced himself as Ryan and said that he was new at the company. We had a little bit of small talk as we walked out towards the parking lot. We said bye to each other and he got in my car while I got in mine. Suddenly, I remembered that I had to call my mother about having dinner on said evening. I sat in my car warming it up by turning the heat on and made plans with my mother, which took about 5 minutes. The weird thing was that Ryan hadn't left yet either. As soon as I started to pull out of the parking lot, he did the same. He kept on following me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want this man who I had never seen before to follow me home. But maybe he had something to say to me if he was actually my coworker. After driving on the highway for about 15 minutes, I got off at my neighborhood's exit, driving down the dark, quiet streets. Due to the snowstorm, it was difficult to drive. Panicking, I spun out and lost control of my car and ended up on the side of the road due to the ice and the fear that I was being followed. I immediately put my foot on the gas in hopes that I would be able to get out of there, but it wasn't working. I was stuck. I looked through my rearview mirror and saw Ryan, along with another man, get out of the car behind me. Realizing the reality of the situation, I got out of my car and started making a run for it. I could hear Ryan and whoever he was yelling out behind me, and I glanced back. I saw Ryan running in my direction on foot while his friend got back in the car. I decided to cut through some backyards in my neighborhood and figured that since I was more familiar with the area, there was a chance I would be able to make it home safe. Though, I could hear Ryan's footsteps trailing me not far behind. After about 5 minutes of running through my neighborhood, still being chased by Ryan, I was almost out of breath. I made it to my street and started running towards my house. Luckily, I had enough time to unlock my door, open it, close it, and lock it before Ryan could come in. I heard loud knocks on the door and peered through the window, where I could see him violently banging on the door with a knife in his hand. I peered through the window and made eye contact with him as I called the police. He looked as if he wanted to kill me. After making eye contact, Ryan's friend pulled in his car and picked up Ryan. By the time the police arrived, it was too late. I'll never know who Ryan was and why he wanted to kill me. After that night, I told my boss I wasn't comfortable with staying late at the office anymore. This got me fired.
Last winter, me and my fiancé took a trip to Thailand. We didn't have much money, so we booked the cheapest resort we could find and decided to stay there for around a week. We thought we wouldn't really be spending that much time there anyways, as there were so many things to do in Thailand. We were big travelers, so we knew the basics on how to stay safe in a foreign country. Going into the trip, we weren't really worried, other than the fact that sexual assault, other forms of assault and robbery were things that we would have to look out for. One of my friends, who had been there only a few years ago, also mentioned drink spiking. He said, "Be careful when you are out drinking at the bar, because you never know who is waiting to sneak something in your drink." Upon arriving in Thailand, the country was beautiful. We were Tirid Thao and just wanted to arrive at the resort to take a nap. When we got there, the resort actually seemed pretty decent. There were 3 staff that would be working with us that week, and they were all young women with large smiles who could speak pretty good English. The resort only had about 4 rooms total: a dining room, a kitchen, and a pool that sat in a courtyard in the center of the entire resort. I remember thinking that it looked really nice, however. It smelled awful. I looked at my fiancée, and she was plugging her nose. It smelled so bad. One of the staff walked us to our room, and I asked if we were the only guests staying here this week. She said no, and that they were actually booked the entire week, though. I didn't notice any other guests. We took a nap, but 30 minutes in, I was woken up to a loud scream out in the courtyard. My fiancé was still sleeping, so I decided to open the curtain and take a peek outside. All I saw were the 3 staff walking around like nothing had happened. I was put off a little by the entire situation, so I laid in bed awake for another hour until my fiancé eventually awoke. We ventured into the city that night and stayed out pretty late, having a good time while enjoying the food as well as the ambiance. We got back to our resort at about 1 a.m., and we were greeted by 2 of the resort staff who offered us a complimentary drink, which was, according to them, a traditional Thailand drink that was often drunk before bed to help you get a good night's sleep. I remembered what my friend had told me, so I just took a fake sip and smiled, saying it was really good. My wife, though, enjoyed the drink and loved it. We went into our room, and my wife, who usually brushes her teeth and takes a shower before bed, immediately passed out. I took a shower, and as I was walking out of the bathroom, I noticed something move beneath our bed. Putting the pieces together, I began to realize the terrifying reality of our situation. Instead of confronting whoever was under our bed, I pretended not to notice, quickly got dressed, gathered our most valuable belongings in a backpack, put my drugged-out wife over my shoulders, and made a run for it. As I was running out of the resort, the staff members began yelling at each other in a language I could not understand, and one of them actually ran after me. Somehow I got a cab and told the driver to just keep going, and without even saying a word, he took one look at my wife and knew that she needed to be rushed to the nearest hospital. Luckily, my wife ended up being fine, and we cut the trip short, promising each other to never go back to Thailand again.
As a child, I grew up on a desolate farm nestled between the gnarled trees of an ancient forest. From the moment I took my first breath, the air carried whispers of secrets that sent shivers down my spine. Eerie and weird things were an inseparable part of my childhood, casting long shadows over the sunlit fields. The farm, with its creaking windmill and dilapidated barn, held a sinister charm that only I seemed to feel. My parents dismissed my tales of strange occurrences as overactive imagination, but they couldn't deny the unease that clung to our home like a ghostly specter. The nights were the worst. Moonlight filtered through the twisted branches outside my window, casting unsettling patterns on my bedroom walls. Shadows danced in the corners, taking on shapes that defied explanation. The distant howls of coyotes echoed like a haunting melody, as if the land itself mourned the secrets it harbored. One peculiar incident etched itself into my memory. On a fog-laden evening, I ventured into the forest against my parents' warnings. The trees seemed to whisper, their voices urging me to unravel the mysteries concealed within their ancient trunks. As I ventured deeper, a soft voice beckoned me, guiding my path through the mist. I stumbled upon an abandoned graveyard hidden among the trees. The tombstones bore names long forgotten, and the air hung heavy with a chilling stillness. In the center stood a weathered statue of a child, its eyes gouged out and replaced with empty sockets that seemed to follow my every move. As I hurried away, the forest seemed to come alive with unseen entities. Rustling leaves and ghostly footsteps echoed behind me, and I felt the weight of invisible eyes peering into the depths of my soul. I sprinted back to the safety of our farm, breathless and terrified, my heart pounding in my ears. The farm animals, too, were not immune to the strange happenings. Cows lowed mournfully in the dead of night, their eyes reflecting an otherworldly luminescence. Chickens clucked in unison as if whispering secrets to one another, and the horses stamped their hooves nervously, sensing a presence that eluded human perception. As the years passed, the eerie occurrences intensified. Objects moved of their own accord, and spectral figures manifested in the darkest corners of our home. The farmhouse groaned with the weight of unseen entities, and I found myself haunted by nightmares that blurred the line between dreams and reality. Now, as an adult, I can't escape the memories of that haunted farm. The land clings to the echoes of a past steeped in darkness, and I wonder if the spectral whispers were merely figments of my imagination or the desperate cries of souls forever bound to the farm's haunted legacy.